Wake. You have slumbered too long. Wake darkness, thick as a frozen abyss. A voice drifted through it, a smoke, thin, needle sharp. It pierced 10 years of silence. Who calls me? Eyes snapped open. Pain shattering, white, hot detonated inside his skull. Fragments. Vesper pressed a palm to his forehead. Knuckles bleached bone, white. The gloom around him was absolute. But to his eyes, it burned bright as noon. The hut was cramped, air steeped in rotting straw. His body stiff as a corpse, pushed upright. Vertebrae clicked. His robe be flawless white, but it couldn't mask the sick pallor of his skin, or the delicate, almost feminine cast of his face. He forced rigid legs forward, stepped outside. Night wind slashed cold as a blade across his cheeks. Ink-black hair lifted, drinking the dark. Clouds choked the sky. No moon, no stars. The firmament hung like an overturned bowl, crushing the earth flat. 7 children sat ringed around an old man's feet, eyes gleaming, listening to a story they'd heard 100 times. In the demon realm descended. Slaughter drowned the land. 4 kingdoms banded together, could not stand against demonic might. In their final hour, the divine realm sent down the god emperor's 2 daughters. The white-winged divine envoy robed in white hair like snow, wings that eclipsed the sky. And the black-winged divine envoy, clad in black, eyes of onyx, wings like the void itself. The old man's voice was weathered. Come. But his gaze flicked. Deliberate. Fleeting. Toward the straw hut. Vesper's heart seized. Those eyes, cold as hooks, lightning in the dark. There and gone. 1 month. They drove the demon hordes back. Then they fought the demon god himself in the far north. 3 days. 3 nights. Demon god and divine envoys vanished together. No one knows the end. Mutual destruction, some say. Others say the envoys returned to heaven. But after that, demons gone. And the names of the envoys carved into legend. A child asked about their faces. The old man smiled, waved the question away, dismissed the children, then leaned on his cane and walked toward Vesper. Stride firm, heavy. The cane was for show. You're awake. Caspian's tone was mild. He studied Vesper. Vesper nodded, voice hoarse. Where is this? Caspian's eyes narrowed. Years ago, I pulled you out of West Mountain Hollow. Just a child then. 7 or 8. Now think. 10 years asleep. Not a drop of water. No food. You didn't wither, you grew. Young man, what is your name? Where do you come from? 10 years. A chill swept through Vesper. He crushed the shock in a heartbeat, forced his mind to sift through debris. Shards rose. He remembered Euaxia, remembered Jinghua, his learning, his knowledge, but not a single face, not one thread of his past. Memory scraped clean. An unseen hand. Only a void remained. Selective amnesia. He pressed both hands to his throbbing skull. Said nothing. Caspian watched in silence. Thoughtful. A breeze slipped past. Cool. Clean. It caught a stray leaf, sent it dancing upward. Soft, wandering arc. Vesper's gaze was hollow on the sky, but his fingers lashed out like lightning. Silent. Precise. 2 fingertips clamped the leaf's edge. A shimmer rippled across his hand. Faint. Barely there. Caspian's eyes flared. Shock flickered in that icy stare. And deep confusion. Vesper sighed, flicked the leaf away, said softly, My name is Yi Wuchen. Is that your true name? Caspian asked. Faint smile. Until I find my real name, I am Vesper. His smile. Thin. Desolate. I see. But you are no ordinary man. Perhaps not long before you reclaim your past. Caspian had already guessed the amnesia, too weary to probe further. The barrier had trapped him over a decade. His heart aged beyond curiosity. Grandpa Chu. I will repay this life, saving debt. Vesper sat beside him, limbs still stiff. Caspian shook his head. I merely carried you here. You took a sleeping spot. Nothing more. An ordinary man would have died 1,000 deaths in 10 years. Vesper turned his gaze to the cloud-choked horizon. Asked no more. Night wind rose, rustling dry straw. Beneath the crushing sky, old man and young man sat side by side on that forgotten patch of earth, bound by a seal. The celestial continent. 4 kingdoms divided the land. Gale, sky dragon. Aqua, azure wave. North, south, east, west. Gale was strongest. The other 3 could only check its power by fragile alliance. The Huaxia and the earth inside Vesper's mind began to crumble. No madness of memory. This was transmigration. Caspian's voice dropped low, dying embers in his eyes guttering. This is the far north of the Sky Dragon Kingdom. A dead land behind a seal. 15 years ago, I barged in and never left. A barrier surrounds this place. Entry possible. Eggs it is not. I could not so much as scratch it. Everyone here shares the same cage, a prison with no door. Vesper's knuckles tightened. Soundless? He would not stay here. Boom! 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 Heavy footfalls shattered the night mist. A man's thick bull like panting. A towering figure burst from the darkness. Giant woven basket strapped to his back. Sweat hammered off his forehead into dirt. Every stride made the ground thud. Frame brutally thick. Muscles churning beneath coarse, sleeveless shirt. An ox that knew no fatigue. Grandpa Fruit's full 30 laps done, Thaddeus heaved. Lungs about to spew out. He dropped the basket. Heat and sweat reek rolled off him. Then his eyes locked onto Vesper. Pupils shrank. He sprang backward like a stepped-on tail. You're awake, Vesper rose. Nodded. Faint smile. I'm Vesper. I've troubled you all these years, Thaddeus stared. Dazed. Scratched his head. Awkward grin. Honest to the point of clumsiness. I'm Thaddeus, or you can call me Taurus. Like everyone else, hey, everyone. Your brother Taurus is back. A roar like muffled thunder. Leaves shivered down. Vesper's eardrums rang. Astounding lung power. Footsteps pattered from every direction. Children scurried over, clutching stone bowls. Torn baskets. Little scoops. Lined up, eyes wide and eager. Thaddeus grabbed fruit 2 at a time, dropped them into each container. Sweat still streaming down his face. But his grin so content it bordered on foolish. This was his training. This was his kindness. The last child scampered off. Laughing. Behind a tree, a pale shape moved. Vesper's gaze froze. She emerged, head lowered. White hair spilled over thin, frail shoulders. Crushed moonlight. Looked no older than 10. Long white dress, rumpled but scrubbed clean. Stepped forward, hesitant. The air went taut as a drawn wire. She lifted her head. 2 brutal scars crisscrossed her entire face. One slashed from left brow to right jaw. The other carved from right brow to left chin. New flesh and old tissue twisted together, crawling across her skin in the night. 2 squirming centipedes. But those eyes half, veiled by white hair. Luminous, deep as still water, flitted anxiously, cautiously toward Thaddeus. Then swift feather, light, they brushed past Vesper. Eyes met. A single beat. Something knocked softly against Vesper's chest. In those eyes lay fear, panic, and something else. Nameless, unspoken, reliance. As though she looked at him and saw not a stranger, but someone she had waited a very long time to find. The white-haired girl snatched back her gaze. Voice thin, nearly shattering in the breeze. Brother Taurus, Thaddeus hurried to rummage through the basket's bottom. Found a single, lonely fruit. The biggest, but the last one. Embarrassment flushed his ears red. Sorry, little Snowy. Only this one today, but it's the biggest. She took it in both hands. So light, cradling a handful of snow. Lips curved, tugging at the scars on her face. Yet the smile bloomed sweet, tender. It's all right. Thank you, Brother Taurus. She glanced at Vesper again. Swift, furtive. A startled fawn stealing one last look at the deep forest before bolting. Then hugged the fruit and fled. White hair lifted in the night wind. Frost blades slicing dark. Frail back staggered into the shadows. Hem flecked with grass. Footsteps rapid and frayed. As if even the night hounded her. Vesper stared after her. Unblinking. Who is she? His voice came dry. Caspian sighed. Appeared here a week ago. That face too horrifying. White hair just like the Snow Wolf clan from back then. Most savage of them all. Everyone beats her. Drives her away. But she carries no evil aura. So young. Can't even fend for herself. Every night she comes for one fruit. Probably the only thing she eats. Vesper said nothing. He rose. Brother Yi, where are you going? Thaddeus shouted after him. Vesper had already stepped into the night. Back straight as a blade. Didn't turn. Thaddeus scratched his nape. Muttered, gone to take a leak. A thin stream whispered between rocks. Silver, white hair trailed over the water. The girl crouched by the creek, scooping water in her palms, carefully rinsing the wild fruit. Night breeze stirred. Her tiny shadow clung to wet stone, a wisp of frost ready to scatter. She rose, wiped moisture on her hem, spun, her eyes crashed into a pair of deep, set pupils. Alarm! Confusion! Helplessness churned wildly in those bright irises. She recognized him, the one who had stared at her before. Vesper closed the distance, stopped right before her. He looked down, his own face reflected in her eyes. Her fingers whitened around the fruit. Trembling, instinctively, she stepped back, but for once she didn't flee. She stared at him in a long, frozen moment. Swallowed. Then timidly she held out the fruit. Big brother, do you want some? A faint smile pulled at Vesper's mouth. He crouched, raised his hand slow. As his fingertips neared her cheek, she went rigid. Eyes wide, breath caught. His fingers brushed the two savage scars. The skin beneath was burning, the scars themselves cold as stone. A colorless light kindled silently on his fingertips, spread over the wounds. The light seeped in. Nothing. The scars didn't so much as twitch, branded into her bones like a curse, repelling even his power to heal. He withdrew his hand, frowning. Little sister, what's your name? Her voice was a mosquito's whine. I don't have one. You're home. Why are you here? I have no home. I woke up here and can't remember anything. She shook her head, helplessness spilling from her eyes. I see. Vesper sighed quietly, then smiled. His voice low and certain. Do you want a brother? One who won't let you go hungry. Won't let anyone hurt you? The girl froze. A sour ache surged from her nose to her eyes. Her lips trembled. Can I? They all hate me, hit me. Vesper rose, took her small, cold hand. As his palm wrapped over her fingers, an unfamiliar warmth flooded in. He looked down, each word deliberate. Come with me. From now on, you're my sister. No one will bully you again. A tremor ran through her. Tears broke free. Through the blur, his silhouette burned into her vision, the sole light in her barren world. That night, she had a crude plank bed and warmth to shelter her for the first time. Vesper stood outside, the night ink dark. He pushed up his left sleeve, drew his right thumbnail across his arm. Blood welled. Pain sharp and real. Then he laid his right palm over it. The wound knit shut before his eyes, skin smoothing flawless, the blood evaporating. He stared at his arm, brows tight. His self-healing worked without resistance. So why did those scars refuse to budge? This was no ordinary injury. Brother, a small, timid voice came from the door. Vesper turned. The girl peeked out, half her face showing, eyes brimming with hope. Can I sleep with brother? Of course. He laughed. Opened his arms, lifting her against his chest. The plank bed groaned. She curled into him like a startled kitten, face buried in his chest, body still quivering. Silent tears slipped down and dampened his collar. Little one, sleep. He stroked her white hair, his voice soft as a lullaby. She nodded fiercely, shrank into a tight ball. Her rapid breath slowly evened out. Tear tracks still glistened, but the corners of her mouth curled in trust. Vesper wound a lock of her white hair around his finger and murmured, Ira for skin, Ira for hair, shall I call you Ira? Eyes still shut, she whispered through teeth. R.S., I love this name so much, she because brother gave it to me. That night, no nightmares. No cowering. The wind held its breath. The cold drew back. When she had sunk deep into sleep, Vesper gazed at the shadowed ceiling and exhaled soundlessly. Even as weariness pulled at him, he didn't move. Arms steady, guarding the warmth against his heart. The next morning, voices stirred outside. Vesper opened his eyes. Ira still lay curled on his chest, sleeping as sweetly as a newborn. A faint smile touched his lips. He didn't shift. Soon the figure in his arms stirred. Confused eyes blinked open. Their gazes met, and she softened and burrowed back, lids heavy, greedy for the safety. Vesper sat up, cradling her, tapped her cheek lightly. "Come on, get up, or no breakfast." Ira blinked up at him, dazed. "Breakfast. In the morning, there's food too." A pang struck Vesper's heart, but his smile grew gentler. "Didn't Ira eat in the mornings before?" Still drowsy, she gave a tiny nod. "Because I couldn't find anything to eat. Only at night Brother Taurus would give me fruit." Vesper carefully smoothed her hair, straightened her collar. Ira watched his movements, enchanted, something melting quietly in her eyes. He lifted her gently, took her small hand. "Let's go." "Brother promised you won't go hungry again." They stepped into the clearing. Morning light hung thin and cold. Elders, women, children clustered together, bowls and spoons clattering. The noise died the moment they appeared. Eyes fixed on them, then twisted into needle, sharp disgust. A few children shrieked first. "It's the ugly freak, Dad. She's so scary." "Drive her away." Hit her. Hit her. Stones tore through the air. A shrill whistle. Several jagged rocks aimed straight at Ira's lower body. A glacial flash crossed Vesper's eyes. His arm blurred. An invisible vortex seemed to swirl along his palm's edge. The stones veered off course, snatched mid-flight, gathered in his hand. Before anyone could react, he snapped his wrist. The stones shot back at double speed, slammed into the children's faces. Thuds of flesh. The children froze for an instant. Then wails ripped the silence apart. It was like kicking a horn its nest. Shouts erupted. A gaunt, frantic, faced man surged to his feet, fury blazing in his eyes. "What the hell are you doing?" He hurled a heavy stone bowl straight at Vesper's head. Thaddeus's muscles bunched, ready to lunge. Caspian clamped a hand on his arm, shook his head once. Thaddeus stared, stunned, then ground his teeth and stayed put. Caspian's narrowed eyes gleamed, fixed unblinking on Vesper. Those stones had flown at the lower body. Vesper had merely swept a hand, and the rocks veered, snagged by some unseen current and funneled into his palm, not caught. Guided asterisk. Caspian could manage the feat himself without difficulty, but not a whisper of energy stirred around the young man. Utterly wrong. The stone bowl hurtled in. Vesper swayed past its rim, clamped iron fingers around the man's wrist. Face blank. Twisted. Asterisk crack. Asterisk the joint dislocated. Sound like splintering ice. The man shrieked like a stuck pig and doubled over. The crowd erupted. 3 more charged, howling, hurling anything at hand. A cold curve touched Vesper's mouth. He gently pried Ira's small fingers from his clothes. Stepped forward. His left hand snared a right wrist. His right locked an elbow. He dropped his hips, and from that lean frame exploded a terrifying force. 2 bodies were swung full circle and hurled. Hit the ground in near simultaneous cracks of dislocation. His foot hooked. The next attacker stumbled. Vesper's heel settled on the man's ankle with casual weight. A sharp, inch-deep grind. Another joint popped free. The man's scream died in his throat. Agony locked his whole body rigid. "Every flying object clods, Shardsy," he batted back. Each struck its thrower squarely in the face. Force measured just shy of crippling, but deep enough to sear the bone. In heartbeats, every man who had raised a hand lay sprawled, clutching wrists and ankles, howling. The children's faces bloomed purple and blue. Seeing their fathers broken, the wails sharpened, but terror strangled them silent. Huddled and trembling, only a few quaking elders and women drained of color were spared. Why are you hitting us?" The first man, cradling his shoulder, forced out the words through the pain. Vesper's gaze was empty iron. "Because you crossed me. We just wanted to chase away that ugly, I am her brother." His voice cut like a blade. "Chase us away?" Try. The man's mouth opened and closed. No sound came. Vesper gave a cold smirk, stepped onto his chest, looked down with a pressure that choked breath. She's weak, defenseless. You're stronger, so you thought nothing of driving her away, bullying her. Now I'm stronger. What you did to her, I'll do to you, or simply kill you. The measure you used on her, I use on you. What right do you have to complain? A flick of his foot sent the man tumbling aside. Vesper snagged a child of 7 or 8 by the collar. The boy went rigid, sobs strangling in his throat. Your father? Who is he? Ice. The child's hand trembled toward the man whose ankle Vesper had crushed. Him. Did he teach you not to bully? Why, yes. The boy's tears clung, too scared to fall. Then why did you bully her? She looks scary. Everyone bullies her, so I. The whisper trailed into a sob. Vesper's fingertip traced a phantom line across the boy's cheek. His smile was a knife. Then let me carve up your face right now. Turn you into a monster. Let you taste what it's like to be everyone's target. How about it? The boy shattered. No. I won't do it again. Never again. Asterisk, asterisk. Vesper set him down. Face blank. Walked to the father. You taught him not to bully. So why didn't you stop him when he bullied her? You, a grown man, raised your hand. He's a child who doesn't know better. Are you one too? Treat a 10-year-old girl like that, and don't blame anyone for treating you the same. Drive us out. Believe me, every day I see you, I'll beat you. The man's lips moved. Under that dark stare, nothing came out. Enough. Let it rest. Caspian rose. His voice was mild, but carried the weight of absolute authority. Young man, they were in the wrong. But they aren't villains. They acted on instinct. This lesson will stop it happening again. Have them apologize to the girl. For this old man's sake, let it end here. Vesper turned. The viciousness melted from his face, replaced by an easy smile. Grandpa Chu saved my life. His word I'll take. The apology won't be necessary. If it happens again, he chuckled, I'll just stretch my limbs a little. A stone bowl scooped up by his foot. Caught. His fingers tightened. The hard stone groaned. Cracks webbed across the surface. Then a sharp crack. It burst into powder. Gravel and dust sifted through his fingers like gray, white sand. Dead silence. The mob turned the color of corpse flesh. The children's sobs cut off. Only terror-struck stares remained. He opened his hand. Let the dust scatter. A small warning? If I ever learn of someone bullying her again, his voice dropped, cold and final. I'll crush their bones. Caspian waved a hand. All of you. Go. The crowd fled like pardoned convicts, limping, clutching one another. Vesper took Ira's small hand and walked over. Grandpa-Chu, I've brought you trouble. Caspian neither nodded nor shook his head. He only sighed. To recoil from what's ugly is human instinct. They were wrong. But they weren't entirely to blame. Vesper nodded. I know. That's why it was only a light punishment. People cut off from the world don't listen to reason. This way, they'll remember. A non-committal sound from Caspian. Then movement. Thaddeus sprang forward. He'd been holding himself back. Now his eyes blazed. Battle, lust, hot enough to scorch. Brother Yi, you're that strong. Let's spar. A faint smile. Vesper shook his head. Thaddeus rubbed his hands. Itching. Unbearable. He opened his mouth to press, then Caspian cleared his throat. Taurus. He's unwilling. Don't force it. Thaddeus swallowed his words. Sulking. But his eyes rolled, and another scheme lit his face. Brother Yi, come hunting with me then. There's a flame lion in the forest. Rank 10 magical beast. 2 of us together will be eating lion meat tonight. Rank 10. Vesper's mind stirred. He smiled, nodded. Let's go now, overjoyed. Afraid he'd change his mind, Thaddeus slung the large basket onto his back. Tossed in a rust-pitted iron sword. Caspian only chuckled. Said nothing. Vesper bent down. His voice went soft. Were you scared just now, Ira? She shook her head hard. No, brother was doing it for me. A pause. Small voice. Brother, everyone hates me. Why are you so good to me? Because you're my little sister. He straightened. A smile lingered. Come on. Hunting with Brother Taurus. Ira nodded. Obedient. She trotted after him. Thaddeus scratched his head. Wanted to object. Held back, afraid Vesper might back out too. Deeper into the woods. Vesper spoke. Taurus. How exactly are the power ranks divided on the celestial continent? Thaddeus perked up at once. Reeling it off like a favorite tale. Rank 1 to rank 10. Only at 8 and above do you count as strong. Beyond 10, spirit rank. Heaven rank. God rank. Spirit looks down on all. Heaven makes you a grandmaster of an age. God rank, his voice dipped. Practically legend. Back then, only 4 in the whole continent. Then they were the peak. No, Thaddeus's throat tightened. His words seeped bone, deep awe. Bone, deep fear. There was one more. Nameless. Faceless. They called her the Scourge Maiden. She wielded divine wrath. Slaughtered like a demon. Rivers of blood in her wake. 4 God-ranked powers joined forces. Laid down the demon, binding array. Seized her with demon, sealing chains. Imprisoned her in the demon's sealing tower. His breath shuddered out. That night, every prisoner inside dropped dead. Beyond the tower, all grass withered. Those who entered never returned. Or burst out bloodied. Mad. Biting at the air. Dead within half an hour. No one dares go near. On the celestial continent, they say, better Hell's Gate than the demon's sealing tower. He shuddered again. Gestured wildly. Must look like a demon. Eyes like bronze bells. Bloody Maw. Vesper filed away the names. Scourge, Maiden. Demon, sealing tower. Then, evenly, a Taurus. What's your rank? Barely 10. Thaddeus scratched his head. Frustrated. Blithe to the genius in that admission. And me, Vesper's eyes lifted. Thaddeus stared. Bovine gaze sweeping him top to toe. Baffled. Growing more so with each pass. You crush stone to powder, no less than rank 6. But that presence of yours, it's like some frail scholars. I can't read it at all. He clawed at his ear, cursing his dull spiritual senses. Vesper didn't answer. His lips twitched. Your praise here, eyes narrowed. Ears pricked. Almost imperceptible. His gaze drilled through the leaves, locked onto the faintest hoofbeats. Pray, Thaddeus blinked. Caught the sound. Snatched his iron sword. Roared wild elation. Bolted. Big one? Stay sharp, I'll be right back. His form vanished into the undergrowth. Bushes rustled. A white beast shape exploded outward. Ira shrieked. Stumbled behind Vesper. His gaze flicked sideward. Foot hooked a dry branch. Flicked up. Shriek. The branch tore air. A needle piercing eardrums. A blur. Punched clean through the creature's throat gristle. Bone cracked wetly. Blood fleck spraying. The charging body crashed. Tumbled over itself. Limbs twitched twice. Still. Silence dropped through the forest. Only the coppery tang of blood. Spreading on morning dew. Ira peeked out. Fear fading from her crystalline eyes. Curiosity glinting. Staring at the white mound. Vesper hefted the kill. Studied it. Looks like a fat rabbit. He turned. The hard edges of his gaze softening. Gentle curves. Snowy. Hungry. She shook her head on instinct. Then nodded. Pitiful. A warm smile spread across his mouth. Turn around. Ira obeyed. Vesper snatched a clean branch. Skewered the odd-looking rabbit. A crimson flame danced up his right fingertip. Heat warped the air. Silent. Fierce. Fire kissed flesh. Red light crawled outward like a living thing. Fur crackled to ash. Faint snaps. Rich meats scent bloomed. Heavy. Tangible. Ira's nostrils flared. Throat bobbing tight. Swallowing silently. The flame deepened. Dark crimson. A dozen heartbeats. The rabbit glistened. Seductive gold. Vesper withdrew the fire. Swept his palm through empty air. Glacial frost poured out, sheathing the meat in fine frost flowers. Steam hissed. Hot met cold. He tore off a hind leg. Pressed it into Ira's hand. eat snowy, her tight, pressed lips curved. She cradled the leg, offered him the sweetest smile. Thank you, brother, Thaddeus thudded back, dragging a colossal boar, grunts and scrapes swelling near. He sniffed sharply, eyes fastening on Vesper's hand. Lightning hair, he stomped close, caught the tossed half carcass, quick as white lightning. Rank 3 magical beast. Best meat on the continent, he buried his face, chewing, words muffled. Vesper asked idly how a beast ranked 4 to 7 mid-tier, 8 to 10 high. Same as people, Thaddeus gnawed bone, kicked the boar at his feet. This one's rank 5. Your art, Vesper's eyelids dipped a fraction. It paused. Then lo, call it starless art, Ira finished. Vesper crouched, pad of his thumb brushing the corner of her mouth, cleaning her small hands. He pulled her up, stare aimed deep into the woods. We go further, they pushed on. Thaddeus, slaughtering beasts. Baskets overflowing. Carcass, strung load pressing heavy shoulders. He flagged, but Vesper's stride never broke. At a certain point, Thaddeus collapsed onto his rump, panting. Ahead's flame lion territory. Rank 10 beast. Past that, the barrier. You enter, you don't come out. Vesper ignored him, drew Ira straight forward. A lion's roar detonated. The flame lion burst from the trees, body surging with red flame. 2 men, high bulk, shredding underbrush. It lunged for Thaddeus, maw gaping, belched a monstrous fireball. Thaddeus dove aside, whipped back, pupils shrinking. Dodge, the fireball was already upon them. Vesper stepped into it. His right hand rose, 5 fingers plunging into the blaze. His blue light swirled in his palm. A vortex. The crimson fireball swallowed whole. Flames guttered, wisping to nothing. His hand lay unscathed, the warmth merely tepid, not searing. Ice flash cut through Vesper's eyes. Frost mist coiled his fingertips. Crack. An ice shard punched through air, keening, sharp, spearing the lion's left eye. Smack, another shard followed, burying into the right eye. The flame lion howled agony, eye sockets bursting crimson mist, pupils ruptured. The massive body collapsed, shuddering, earth quaking. Thaddeus lunged, iron sword driving through the neck. Vesper's face drained pale. He steadied his breathing. One breath, then faced Thaddeus. Head back. Don't follow. He clasped Ira's hand, strode towards the barrier. 100 meters. He stopped dead. Fingertips met transparent wall. Cold, solid, invisible. He pressed his palm against it. Ripples flared across the surface, water shuddering under wind. But the barrier held, merciless, shutting him out. He frowned, turned, guided Ira 10 meters back. Stand here. Don't move. Ira clenched her fists, nodded hard. Vesper returned to the barrier, drew a deep breath. The starless art churned inside him. Power flooded from his limbs, into his right arm. His hand blazed with translucent light. The glow thickened, condensed, shaped itself into a half-formed blade. He snarled, struck. RZZ's ET no crash, no thunder. Recoil hit him, a hammer to the bone. His skeleton creaked. The shock hurled him backward, slammed into the ground. Agony sheared through his right arm. Cold sweat beaded his forehead. Brother, Ira's face went white. She sprinted toward him. Fine, Vesper forced a smile, left hand gripping his trembling right wrist. Just a bump, Ira's eyes brimmed. Vesper sighed, scooped her up, carried his back, tapped her nose. Brother promises. Nothing will happen this time. He turned. All softness died in his eyes. He didn't touch the barrier again. He looked down, crouched, fist raised. Every shred of strength screamed into his right arm. His knuckles drove into the earth. Boom! Stone shattered. Mud exploded. A crater yawned 1/2 meter deep. Darkness swallowed the light. Vesper fought for balance and stared. There at the bottom, a flicker of gold. A hilt? Gold seared the air like a lidless eye torn open after millennia of sleep. Barely exposed, its presence crushed the silence. Vesper didn't wait. He seized it with both hands. Warm light wrapped his fingers. He pulled. Inch by inch, the great blade scraped free of the deep earth. Steel ground against soil. More gold bled into sight. The sword tore loose. Asterisk HMMM, asterisk the ground convulsed. A seal shattered. Cracks streaked from Vesper's feet like ruptured veins splitting the world. Beasts fled shrieking. Daylight warped and bled color. By the thatched hut, Caspian's eyes snapped wide. Pupils tightened. The barrier broken, amid the earth's howl, Vesper stared at the thing in his hands. A massive gold blade. The grip stretched over 30 centimeters. The blade itself longer than a meter, 10 centimeters wide, sleek as mirror glass. Near the tip, a single ancient character was carved, asterisk, south asterisk. Then came a voice. Distant, threadbare. It surfaced from the depths of his mind like thunder from a dead age. In the beginning, chaos birthed two primeval beings. One claimed the south of chaos, the other the north. They crowned themselves the South Emperor, and North Emperor war raged. Chaos cracked. Heaven, earth, men, gods, demons spilled forth, the voice cut off. Severed as if by an unseen blade. Are you calling me? Vesper gripped the hilt tighter. His thoughts plunged inward. An answer. A girl's voice trembling like shattered jade. Yes, it's me. Who are you? I don't know. Why did you summon me? I don't know. Then what asterisk do asterisk you know? Hysteria bled through her voice. Master, please don't be angry. I truly don't know who I am, only that my name is Astra. I am sealed inside this sword. You are my master. Only you can free me. Reason. A vein jumped on Vesper's temple. I don't know, it's a feeling. I slept so long. I woke because I felt you coming, master. How do I free you? I don't know. Vesper remained silent, his mind racing. The sword shuddered. Gold light erupted. It dissolved into a streak of brilliance, shrinking in his grip. Smaller, smaller until it became a single thread of gold. It stabbed into his forehead. His spiritual platform thundered. A warm current flooded the depths of his mind. See. A faint glimmer sparked across his brow and vanished. The great blade felt like a half-remembered hallucination. Forget it. Exhaustion rolled through him. He spoke to the girl in his thoughts. Stay with me from now on. If you remember something, tell me, MM. Thank you, master. Thank you so much. Astra's voice brightened. The gold brand warmed against his soul like a light kindled in deep darkness. Vesper shook his head and looked ahead. The barrier was gone. Its root had been the sword. What kind of blade was this? Why buried here? Why was the barrier raised around it? And those fragments about the South Emperor and North Emperor, what were they? He didn't bother hoping for answers from Astra. He brought Ira back. Caspian still sat motionless, his presence heavy as a mountain. Thaddeus paced frantic circles. His eyes lit up when he saw Vesper. Brother Yi! That damned barrier vanished on its own. We can leave. Vesper smiled faintly. He said nothing. Caspian's gaze razor, sharp cut toward him. That stare had weight. The air thickened like lead. Vesper's chest squeezed tight. Breathing stalled. Then Caspian withdrew his gaze and chuckled. Young man, the barrier is broken. What are your plans? Vesper's heart still thudded. His face stayed calm. I'll wait a while. Ira blinked up at him, uncomprehending. The following days passed in idle joy. Vesper took Ira everywhere hunting, picking fruit, chasing butterflies. They roamed every corner of the once sealed land. Thaddeus shadowed them like a second skin. Ira's laughter spilled free like a bird escaping its cage, soaking into Vesper's heart. But when he looked at that small white-haired silhouette, a quiet sigh escaped him. Dawn barely brushed the eastern sky with pale gray when Vesper rose in silence. He stood motionless, staring at Ira as she slept. Two hideous scars across her face couldn't hide the pure expression beneath. He touched the scars with his fingertips. Bent low. His lips pressed to them, light warm. Gone. He turned. His robe's edge whipped a final, resolute gust. Outside, Caspian sat on that ancient tree stump, his cane tapping the ground. Thaddeus's face was thick with misery. Brother Yi, you're really leaving? Vesper nodded. Look after Ira. The road ahead is too dangerous. I can't take her. When I'm settled, I'll come back for her. If you can't wait, bring her to find me. Thaddeus opened his mouth. Caspian spoke first. Go at ease. For 3 years, we won't leave this place. And we'll let no one harm the Ira girl. 3 years. Thaddeus's eyes bulged. Tears nearly burst out. Caspian ignored him. His hand flipped. A black object sailed toward Vesper. Vesper caught it, a black ring icy to the touch. Carved into its surface, impossibly small, the character *chew*. Deep etchings, sharp to the fingertip. A spatial ring. It will serve you. Caspian's tone was even. Surprise flickered in Vesper's eyes. He slid it onto his left index finger and spoke low. Thank you, Grandpa Chew. Vesper will repay this kindness. Repay. Caspian smiled. You already have. The barrier was broken. This caged prisoners now had rebirth and freedom. That was the true debt. Vesper didn't waste more words. He turned. A light wave of his hand. Grandpa Chew. Brother Taurus. Take care of Ira. We'll see each other again soon. He didn't look back. His figure shrank into the distance. Thaddeus's outstretched hand froze. His eyes grew red. He watched the silhouette vanish. Gone just like that, he muttered, then spun toward Caspian. Grandfather, 3 years without leaving. Is that real? Real? Caspian's gaze deepened. 3 years at least. Perhaps forever. Thaddeus nearly dropped to his knees. 15 years trapped in this God-forsaken wasteland. The exit he dreamed of day and night finally yawned open, and this was the result. If Caspian refused, escaping was impossible. He is a dragon returning to the sea. You must become a tiger descending the mountain. Caspian's voice was forged iron. He rose, leaning on his cane. Until you are a tiger, do not think of stepping out. Then, when am I a tiger? When you glimpse the sky realm. Only then are you qualified. Caspian stared into the distance. His authority brooked no argument. Sky realm. Thaddeus's face crumpled. Grandfather, in 5 years I haven't even touched the spirit level. Breaking into sky from spirit in 3, how is that possible? HMPH. Caspian's snort shook the treetops. Every generation of the Chew family stands at the peak of the celestial swordway. Your father died young. All the Chew family's hopes now rest on you alone. If you don't even carry that ambition, how are you fit to be a son of the Chew family? How are you fit to be my grandson? Thaddeus hung his head, shame burning his face. No words came. Caspian drove his cane into the ground. Crack, it split cleanly in 4. A slender sword lay in his hand. Blue light exploded from the blade. Less than a meter of steel spewed a sword, or longer than itself, the slender body swelling more than 3-fold. A keening wail tore through clouds. The sword glow blazed like fire, painting half the sky. From today, this blade is yours. In 3 years, if your strength still shames its name, I will reclaim it forever. He threw. The Caspian blade traced a blue arc and slammed into the earth before Thaddeus. Thaddeus's hands trembled as he pulled it free. The steel mirrored the mad fervor leaping in his eyes. Hoarse, choked sounds scraped from his throat. Caspian blade, the divine sword. Caspian saw his grandson drunk on excitement, devoid of proper awe, and nearly cuffed him across the skull. Remember, Caspian's voice dropped, each word hammering into Thaddeus's eardrums. 3 years. If you surpass him, you may walk the world with this blade, purge evil, protect the weak. If not, then follow him. Always. Do you understand? Thaddeus's thick hands caressed the Caspian blade. His eyes blazed. He swept it through the air. A blue arc howled. He beat his chest with a voice like a bell. Don't worry, grandfather. Just to be worthy of this Caspian blade, I'll reach the sky level in 3 years. Caspian turned away. A faint curve touched the corner of his mouth. Morning. Ira stretched lazily. Sleepy eyes opened. Beside her, emptiness. She pursed her lips, hopped off the wooden bed, and padded out the door. Brother, the bright call brought no answer. Only Thaddeus and Caspian stood outside. Where's my brother? Ira rubbed her bleary eyes. Thaddeus scratched his head, smiling awkwardly. Brother ye well, he's gone. I'll look in the forest. No. Thaddeus flailed his hands, stammering miserably. Little one, your brother left this place. He went to Sky Dragon Kingdom. He said he'll be back for you soon. The words jammed in his throat. His stomach dropped. Ira's face held no grief, no panic. It was horror. Brother, he left. The whisper fell from numb lips. Her dazed eyes went dead, gray in an instant. The world crumbled in her gaze. Thaddeus stepped back instinctively. Little one, your brother was afraid it was too dangerous for you. He said he'll be right. No, she flew at Thaddeus, a wild thing. Fists hammered his chest. Knuckles white. Tears streaked her face. You're lying. Brother wouldn't leave me. I won't be apart from him, no. Her sobs cracked through his skull. Calm down. Your brother is really coming back soon, tell me. She grabbed his clothes, yanked him down, threw her face up at him. Tears like open wounds. Mist choked eyes bored into him. That stare, Thaddeus couldn't breathe. Brother, Taurus. Please tell me I don't want to leave my brother. Tell me. He broke. He pointed south. He went to Sky Dragon Kingdom. But Ira let go. She ran. Thaddeus lunged after her and froze. His body locked. Invisible force pinned him in place. He ground his teeth, struggling, and bellowed, little one. Come back. Asterisk, come back. Asterisk, the tiny white figure vanished behind the trees. Grandfather. Why did you stop me? If I don't chase her, she'll die out there. Thaddeus thrashed, shouting. Caspian sighed, soft as falling ash. If you understood what was in her eyes, you wouldn't want to chase her. That was obsession beyond reason. Nothing will stop her. Force her back, and she'll break herself trying to escape. Then let me go with her. Or you take her. She's just a 10-year-old girl, and brother ye's been gone too long. She can't catch him alone. A single level, to beast could know. Caspian's voice cut cold. Grandfather, can you bear to watch her die? She's asterisk brother, ye's sister. Asterisk, Thaddeus shouted at his grandfather for the first time. I said asterisk, no asterisk. Caspian's voice boomed like muffled thunder. His presence crushed down. Thaddeus clenched his fists, stomped the ground. Silence stretched. Then Caspian spoke, distant and slow. Set your mind at ease. She will be fine, but inside a storm raged. That aura she'd unconsciously released, it chilled him to the marrow. Asterisk, is she truly just an ordinary girl? Asterisk forest. Barren grassland. Forest again. Vesper pushed south from dawn to dusk. Master, what's your name? Vesper. Master, where is your home? Huaxia. He willed it. The gold greatsword filled his palm. He swung. Gold arcs carved the air. The sword held vast power, staggering, incomprehensible, but he was too weak to wield even a fraction of its true force. Ostra, what is this sword's name? Let me think, it's called the South Emperor's sword. Its name is Star Riva. South Emperor's sword, Star Riva. He held it before him, staring at the word carved on its tip. Asterisk South. Asterisk South Emperor. The beginning of heaven and earth, South Emperor, North Emperor. Ancient memory fragments surfaced. If it was real, then did the gods and devils of this world truly exist? For Vesper, just stepping into the celestial continent, everything was a blank slate. His past was gone. In its place, the South Emperor's sword and these splinters of memory. What waited ahead? Another forest. Twilight swallowed the last daylight. A full moon rose. Ghost, white light filtered through branches, scattering broken shadows. Agony erupted in his chest. His heart spasmed, seized by an invisible fist. Body arched. He drove the sword into the dirt and dropped to one knee. The power inside him spiraled wild. 1,000 blades flayed his meridians. Every vessel convulsed. Every muscle and bone shrieked. Asterisk GHK. Asterisk fingers gouged deep furrows into the soil. Nails cracked. Blood seeped from the beds. Sweat drenched his clothes, clammy and cold. The moonlight twisted. Trees bled their color. The world shrank, blurred, plunged into endless black. He slumped. Silence. Master. Master, what's wrong? Master, Ostra's desperate cries faded into still death. Ira ran a full day and night. Clothes stiff with dried sweat, crystallized into salt crust. Whipping branches carved fine red lines across her face, a sting like a brand pressed to skin. She blundered blind through thorn thickets. Delicate arms and thighs tore into ribbons of blood. Her shoes were gone. Bare soles ground across sharp gravel. Every step stomped a crimson print into the earth. Pain lanced bone, deep, but it couldn't swamp the terror locked in her chest. That terror hurt worse. Her heart sank. Where was her brother? Why couldn't she catch him? Her foot caught. She pitched forward, knees slamming into a rock, buried in dirt. Gasping, she raised her head. Through tear-swollen eyes, she saw a familiar shape curled on the ground ahead. Brother, she clawed forward on hands and knees. Fingers found Vesper's body. Cold, rigid, no warmth at all. Brother, brother, she shook him harder. No response. A wail ripped open the forest silence. Ira collapsed onto his body. The taste of rust and iron flooded her throat. The world plunged into darkness. The next morning. Sky-flamed town. A white-browed elder strode through the grass, a herb basket slung across his back. His steps halted. He saw her, a small girl, covered in wounds, dragging a boy's body far larger than her own. She lay sprawled on a forest path. Her hand was still clenched around the boy's clothing, knuckles twisted and deformed from the force of her grip. Save my brother. Ira lifted her tear-scoured face. Her voice scraped like sandpaper. Before the last word left her lips, her body went limp. She sank into unconsciousness. The old man stepped forward. Fingers pressed Vesper's neck artery. A long moment passed. He withdrew his hand and turned to Ira. His brow furrowed slightly. Withered hands hoisted them both. Robes swelled with wind. He launched into the sky. The air-splitting shriek trailed behind him like a crane's cry, stabbing through the clouds. Wind shrieked past their ears. Robes snapped like whips. The white-browed elder clutched Vesper and Ira, skimming mountain ridge after mountain ridge. He descended, at last, before a wooden hut deep in a secluded valley. Unnamed herbs grew in neat plots by the door. Mist clung to the dawn. Dewdrops studded the leaves, glittering like tears. The old man laid Vesper flat on a bamboo cot. Withered fingers pressed again to his wrist. His frown carved deeper. Vesper's face held the color of gold leaf. His breath came so faint, a stray breeze might scatter it. Limbs rigid, skin ice-cold. Only a thread of warmth in his chest refused to fade stubborn, barely there. Strange, the elder muttered. He drew a crimson pill from his robes, cracked the wax seal, and wedged it between Vesper's teeth. Then he turned to the cot's foot, where Ira lay curled. Blood crusted her arms. White hair tangled wild. The scars across her face looked harsher in the morning light, but they couldn't mask the raw stubbornness etched into her small features. The old man sighed. He retrieved a salve and dressed her wounds one by one, arms, soles, each gash. The sun climbed. A shaft of light slipped through the window lattice and fell across Ira's eyelids. Lashes twitched. Her eyes snapped open, flooded with terror. She bolted upright before she registered her surroundings, a hoarse word tearing from her throat. Brother, she spotted Vesper, unconscious on the cot. She scrambled to him, tumbled, clawed her way closer. Small hands seized his sleeve. Her whole body shook. Tears splattered onto his unfeeling knuckles, but she bit her lip bloody and refused to sob. Easy, the old man's voice was still water. Your brother lives. His chi runs backward. His meridians are a rat's nest. The damage is severe, but his bone structure is unusual. He won't die. You, though, keep thrashing, and you'll kill yourself first. Ira lifted her head. Through blurred vision, she saw him extend a rough clay bowl half, filled with thin congee. If you collapse, who guards him? She took the bowl, dazed. She drank in tiny sips. Her eyes never left Vesper. The elder said nothing more. He sat aside, sorting his herb basket. The hut held only Ira's stifled breathing and the intermittent birdsong beyond the window. Vesper sank through lightless depths. Torrents of energy rampaged through his meridians like routed soldiers. Pain shredded him to fragments. Only a single point of gold light endured in the depths of his spirit platform. Austra's voice threaded through the dark, thin and weeping. Master, please, don't die. Snowy is calling you. Ira finished the congee. She set the bowl aside without a sound. She refused to step away. She grasped Vesper's hand. The cold of his palm sent panic through her chest. She pressed it to her cheek anyway, as if that touch might carry her heartbeat into his. Brother, Snowy isn't afraid. Snowy will wait for you to wake. Her whisper was low. The water in her eyes slowly retreated before a stubborn light. Cloud shadows drifted past the window. The hut lay silent. Time itself seemed to halt within its walls.